All right, what is going on, Laker fans? Thank you very much for tuning in. Sunday, the team might have the day off, sort of. I guess not really. They're just not playing. But Khobi and I, no, we're working. Khobi and I are working. We're trying to get you guys some content here. Want to welcome in Khobi Price. Obviously covers the Lakers for the OC Register. Khobi, what's going on, brother? How are you?
What's up? How's it going? I'm good. How you feeling?
Doing good, doing good. It was, game one out of the way here, and didn't really feel like all that much different than many of the other Lakers Nuggets matchups. But I thought it'd be good to kind of get your thoughts on what we saw yesterday. For those who are just tuning in right now, we're going to do a few things. We'll talk about some of the takeaways from last night. Did D'Lo just have a bad night, or should we have some more concern? Some of the things we liked about Darvin Ham, some of the things we didn't like about Darvin Ham as far as moves go from yesterday's game. I know, Khobi, you just got a chance to be a part of some of the media availability for Darvin Ham, so we'll get the latest on that. And then maybe Christian Wood potentially returning. So we're going to get into all those topics. Please subscribe to the channel if you've yet to subscribe to the channel, and thank you very much for hanging out. So, Khobi, I'll start with this. Let's start with some takeaways for you from last night's game. Just your overall thoughts of what you watched yesterday for 48 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to just like do an overall bigger picture look at it, I thought the Lakers, especially in the first half, played relatively well. Look, these are the defending champions, so sometimes even your best shot, especially these early, isn't going to give you a 10, 15 point lead. There were certain stretches in the first half where just based off the feel of the game, it felt like, yeah, the Lakers really have control of the game. And then you look up, they're only up by 5 or 7 or, the game best 12 point lead.
Excuse me, man.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think there was a game best 12 point lead. I think it was maybe like 47-35 or 49-37,
Yeah,
something.
LeBron off the steal goes up for a layup. They went up 12. Yep, you're right.
Yeah. So whatever the score was at that time, like that felt like a big moment. And you just look up, their best lead is 12. And I guess to Denver's, the inverse, Denver didn't lead. I think they led by 16 was the most they led by at any point in the game. So it wasn't like the game was ever out of control either way. But when you're playing a team as good as Denver, you want to have a little bit more of a lead. When your shots are going down the way you are, when you are executing offensively the way they are, when Denver's taking time to adjust to how the Lakers are doubling Jokic in the post, and he's getting some, he's maybe getting shots up over Rui, but the passing hasn't really hit yet. In terms of swing passes to really open up shots for Denver shooters who really struggled in the first half, and then they got going especially in the third quarter. So I think they made 6 first half threes, and they made 6 in the third quarter alone. KCP, I think, went 0 for 4 on threes to start. I think he made maybe 3 in the third, something along those lines.
I think 4. Hit 4 in the third.
4.
Yep.
Yeah, 4 in the third. So, I mean, you play relatively well. I thought they came out strong, but then it felt like to me, just watching it and even rewatching a decent amount of it this morning and afternoon, it felt like a little bit of the wheels start to fall off. More so offensively than defensively. I thought offensively, the Lakers, the wheels start to fall off, and I think defensively, the Nuggets started to adjust to how the Lakers were defending Jokic in the post. And I just thought the pick and roll, the Murray Jokic pick and roll in certain doses was just, I mean, the Lakers, especially when it was Rui on guarding Jokic, there were just so many opportunities. There were just times where Darvin even mentioned it when Rui wasn't in coverage the exact spot he needed to be, or a little out of position, or a little bit slow getting back to Jokic. Maybe in coverage a little bit too much before dropping back to Jokic on the roll. So those are the small details that make a difference in a, 11-point win. That's not even going to mention the offensive rebounding, the transition defense, especially once the offense, the killer just came out strong, but especially once the offense starts to slow down a little bit, those little details, I think Darvin referred to that as the intangibles. Like those start to build up. You can't, Anthony Davis said it on Friday after their practice or their shoot around, whatever they want to call it. It was a practice. You can't be bad in transition defense and offense or defensive rebounding. You want to be good at both, but you can't allow both to happen. And what we saw last night was the Lakers lost both battles. So that adds up. All of it adds up.
Khobi, I want to go back to one thing you said in the beginning, because I think it's such a good point. And it's got to be demoralizing for at least for me. I felt like it was a demoralizing moment. They're up 12,
Yeah.
and in a blink of an eye, it's basically a tie game. I know LeBron hits that three right before the first half ended, but I could just feel it in their body language. And I felt like things changed so quick for them. And unfortunately, when things are going well for the Lakers, there's some high-fiving, there's extra passes, there's guys jumping all over the place, running all over the place on defense. But man, the moment you feel like it starts going the other way, you saw it a little bit against the Pelicans in that playing game as well. I don't think this is uncommon. When they look good, they look really good. When things start to struggle, it's like an avalanche, and I don't feel like they know how to stop it. And I just use Denver as an example. That's got to be demoralizing because you felt like they played a really good half, the Lakers did, and it's only a 3-point game because Bron hits a 30-footer right at the end. I'm just curious if you noticed the same thing, that there is a little bit of a psyche at times with the Lakers where it feels like, it looks like they are discouraged. Their heads are down. I do feel like that has an effect on them.
I think it does to an extent. I mean, we've asked, like, even before going into the series, we asked about, the mental aspects of this. I kind of want to go back to your point about what you said after that LeBron layup. Like, I think it was a Reggie Jackson, Jokic pick and roll, bad pass, LeBron layup, 49-37.
Yep.
Nuggets timeout, get organized, get it together. After that, a few plays after that, Michael Porter Jr., three-pointer. Like, LeBron was a little too far back, coming off a Jokic pin down, and Michael, MPJ just frees up for the three. Next possession for Lakers, LeBron offensive foul, Nuggets ball. Lakers get the stop, but then they have another turnover. In transition, Spencer comes a little bit too far off of Reggie Jackson in the corner, trying to help. I think Austin was in a cross match and got on Jokic. Jokic was posting up. Spencer was trying to help, and then fire past to Reggie for a three. Another turnover by the Lakers.
So lead cut in half in three
just
possessions,
like that.
Something like that. Yep.
And then next thing you know, Jokic gets the ball on a steal from LeBron. Gordon dunk. I mean, you went from a 12-point lead, now you're up 4, and it's like that. And I think Austin mentioned this yesterday, is with a team that can execute as well as the Nuggets do, they make you pay for every single mistake that you make. That's I think that within itself is demoralizing, but it's also when you are up, as 12s, it's not the biggest lead in it, especially in the modern NBA.
Sure.
But it's a nice cushion. Just imagine if the Lakers were up 8 instead of 3 at halftime, or 9 instead of whatever, but they lost that quote unquote advantage like that. And it's really just a couple plays. It's not even maybe bad play design or anything. It's just not executing. I think we saw a little bit of it. The Lakers, that to me, that initial push, I think it was like a Nuggets 10-0 run, because even after the Lakers called timeout, the Nuggets got the first basket. So it went from a 12-point lead to a 2-point lead, and you could have finished a beverage in the stands. You would even have to finish your hot dog in the stands when that lead just disappeared. So I think that's more demoralizing than anything else.
Stephen A. said this at halftime on ESPN. He literally said, I went and got me something to eat and a napkin, and I came back and the lead was gone. And I think what you just said is literally what he was thinking. Kind of a similar thing. You could see my title here, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. Kind of leads me to my next point.
Yeah.
I know that what happened last year should not connect to this year. I know what happened in the regular season. You try as best as you can to say, okay, guys, these aren't connected. Those games are over. Let's move on. But I think it's impossible to think that there isn't a mental portion of this that's sitting in, and I'm not even talking about D'Angelo and Austin Reeves. I'm talking about, does Anthony Davis fully believe that the Lakers can beat the Denver Nuggets? Maybe he does in his mind, but it's impossible they don't have doubt, being 0 for their last 9 against them. And LeBron and Darvin Ham, how much do you feel right now the Lakers are, as much as they're trying to battle a team that is arguably the best team in the NBA, the defending champs, make you work for every point? If you screw up on defense, they're going to capitalize on it. You already have so many challenges from a basketball perspective. Do you think there's something mentally right now, losing 9 games in a row to the Nuggets?
I mean, I'd be surprised if there isn't, just because.
I know no one will admit it, but it's natural.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's going to admit it, and nor I mean, I wouldn't even expect anybody to, just because of the fact that you don't want to give an opposing team that kind of mental edge over you.
Sure.
But I think there is, maybe not going into the game, but I think when Denver does, like, literally went on a 10-0 run to take your lead from 12-2 before someone can even go to the concession stands and get their food or get their drink and get back to their seat. I think there's a mental edge of, like, someone asked LeBron about this, of like, do you have a feeling of here we go again? And LeBron said, he's not had the one that have doubts. He doesn't get into the
Not
cerebral
wired
mindset.
like that, right?
Yeah, and nor, like, you're 21, he's seen it all, he's done it
Sure.
all. Like, nor should he. But even if he's not
I get
necessarily
it.
experiencing that, like, I would be surprised if there's nobody on the team that's like, oh crap, like they're here. They
Here
just
we go
did the thing.
again.
Yeah, here they just did the thing that we are aware of, that we're trying to fight off, but they do it anyway because they're just that good. Like, even if it's not a Lakers Nuggets thing, I just think there's also a realization of, hey, the Nuggets are not just defending champions, but they're still just that good right now. And any small detail that you mess up on, um, they can capitalize. So even if it's not like the history in the back of their minds going into the game, I think in real time there's a realization of, this just happened. And then you have the moment of, we've been through this before, but we haven't been able to get ourselves fully out of it. And yes, they took the lead going into the second, but really, to me, like, there was a lot of focus on the third quarter. I think what the Nuggets outscored them 32-18 in the third. But to me, like, the wheels started to fall off a considerable amount in that end of second quarter, not just because of the run, but it felt like the Lakers, there was a little bit more, I don't want to call it pressing, or maybe it was just, maybe that's the best way to say it, pressing, but they start to lose the details on both ends of the floor. And then next thing you know, it's just Denver. They had control of the game.
Hmm.
And I think that's to an extent that can be demoralizing regardless of the opponent, but especially when you have the history that they have with Denver, that within itself is just like, oh my gosh.
Well, I could tell you from a fan perspective, or for both of us who are covering the team, last night didn't feel all that much different than a lot of these other games, and
Yeah.
that's what I mean by the mental portion of it. I mean, I think the only thing that was different yesterday, that it was kind of unique that the Lakers got that big of a lead that early. I remember game 2 last year, Lakers were in Denver, and they had about a 10, 12 point lead and carried that. I don't know how far into the third quarter, but it was there. And then Jamal Murray went off. I think he had 23 in the fourth quarter, and
Yeah.
Denver ends up winning the game. Yesterday was a little bit more unique because it was Lakers jumping out to a lead, but it was gone so quick. And then Denver, you felt like for pretty much the entire second half had control of the game. Not that the game was over, but they had a little bit of a cushion, right? When you have a 6, 8, 10-point cushion, I'm sure the Nuggets are feeling good about themselves at home there. So something to keep in mind. For those tuning in right now, just a quick reminder. So Khobi Price covers the Lakers for the OC Register. He's in Denver right now, was there for game 1, will be there for game 2. You can follow Khobi on Twitter. He's a Lakers beat reporter for the OC Register. Khobi_Price does a great job covering Lakers basketball in the NBA. So always appreciate his time here. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, what I reminded me of, just real quick, not game 3, but the third regular season game between the Lakers and Nuggets this year. Because in that game back in
Which
March,
one was that one?
that was March 2nd.
Was it in LA or in Denver?
Yeah, it was in LA.
Was this the one that Austin Reeves went for the steal on Jokic? Jokic finds, maybe it was Porter for a corner 3, and basically the game went from a tie game to down 8 or 10 in the final couple of minutes.
Yes,
was it that one?
I'm pretty sure that's the game, because I think the Lakers were up by double digits. I'm trying to look this up right now.
Oh,
I think
right.
in the second quarter.
No, you're right.
They even had a late lead. They were up in the fourth by just, I think, maybe not by 2-3 points, but they had a late lead too at one point. And then the difference to me was that the Nuggets kind of did their damage to regain the lead or get that momentum earlier, so they didn't need to have the big monstrous closeout in the final 5 minutes like we've seen. They just kind of had to keep the Lakers from coming back. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that was the play you just mentioned, the Murray three in the corner. I think it was. I can't. I'll try to look it up if it wasn't.
I
Maybe
think
that
you're
was a
right.
February game.
Yeah, but I know which game you're talking about.
Yeah.
Lakers were, and it was what it was kind of a similar script of the difference in that game. It's like here we are, it's neck and neck, and then 2 or 3 minutes goes by, and all of a sudden you look up and it's like Denver up 8 or 10 or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Okay, one of the big stories, obviously coming out of yesterday's game, and I want to get your opinion on this, but D'Lo goes 1 for 9 from the 3-point line. He goes 6 of 20 from the field. A couple of the stats that I really didn't like from D'Angelo Russell. Obviously, he had a bad shooting night. Only 3 assists for D'Angelo Russell. And I think, my takeaway from D'Lo, first off, if you're going to take that many shots,
Yeah.
you got to be more precise. Or if you don't feel like it's fallen, you got to go to plan B and say, well, I'm going to take a couple dribbles in. Maybe I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive, get to the basket. Or you know what? I'm going to start being a facilitator until I could get back into a rhythm. Taking 20 shots is a lot of shots in a game like that. So you obviously need him to be more effective. But I think one of the areas of D'Lo's game that I appreciate is he's a good facilitator too. He can create for others. And the 3 assists also tells me that he didn't find other ways to contribute. What do you, is that just a bad night? I know I was listening to him post game and you were there. Him saying that he's excited, the fact that he got so many good looks, that it was only 5 or 6 shots that he thought that he took that were questionable. Give me your thought process on D'Lo after game one.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of don't, not to like straddle the fence on this one, but for the most part, I didn't have an issue with. I think D'Lo even said himself, like, of the 20 shots he took, maybe like 15 or 16, I thought were good looks.
Hmm.
And I think us, I mean, the first shot he took it felt like at certain points they were trying to get him going. Like really like made it a point to like get D'Lo some shots early. I
Which is
think it
smart.
paid. Yeah, which is smart because you always feel like you can, especially after the series, like if there's a human element of this guy struggled last year in this series. Let's see if we can manufacture like get him going early, and I think it worked. Um, I also think there were just some shots that we've seen D'Lo make countless times through the regular season, including or even the playing game against the Nuggets, and they simply didn't go in. I thought the process. I think if you could, I think the process was better compared to the last playoff series between the Lakers and Nuggets. That said, there probably were a handful of shots where you do wish, hey, you don't like these are shots you take if you have it going, not shots you take if
You're
you're
struggling.
what. Yeah, if you're struggling. And I think that's the issue, more so. But for the most part, like I looked back at most of his shots, and I didn't have a big issue. Like a lot of them were like there were a
Top of
couple
the
where
key.
top of the key. Like I'm
Good
really
shots. Yep. Couple runners in the lane.
yeah, there are runners in the lane that he missed. I'm literally watching a shot right now where he faked Aaron Gordon out, made him blow by. He got a really good look at a three on the wing and he
Couple
just
in and
missed.
outs.
Yeah, a couple of us like if he goes, I mean, the one I'm talking about, like he airballed it, like he just completely, didn't touch rim. So some of those are like nobody wants to hear it, but it's just a matter of luck. I think it also didn't help that from like the facilitating standpoint, especially late. It didn't help that the Lakers offense got bogged down. They were really running their sets well, and I think a lot of it was like with LeBron, as the ball handler. There were some plays that there was a couple good actions where they had AD and the facilitating from the elbow or just AD going at Jokic. So that I don't know if the playmaking opportunities were as available for D'Lo outside of like the shooting opportunities that he had as they may have been, say, if he had the ball in his hands just a little bit more. When I mean ball in his hands, I mean like controlling the play, not
Sure.
starting the play and then dishing to someone else. But that was just my read on it. But I didn't have an issue with how he played for the most part. Defensively, there were some slippage in certain moments, but from a how he plays standpoint, not the biggest issue if you just look at it on face value. But there are a few shots where you look at it as like, hey, this is a shot you take if you're rolling. You call your number in the situation if you're rolling, not when you guys are struggling to find offense. But I think some of that was also just a byproduct of the Lakers' offensive system as a whole dropping off. Really, in a little bit in that second quarter, but especially in the third, and definitely in the fourth. And I think D'Lo wasn't the only one who suffered from that, but he was a, if you want to call, I don't want to say victim, but he was he didn't benefit from the overall team offense, team structure kind of falling off, especially in the second half.
It's obviously going to be a lot of, the chatter started before the series started about how important he's going to be. He struggles in game one. Everybody starts looking back at what happened last year in the playoffs against Denver. How do you think he responds tomorrow?
I mean, it doesn't matter what I think. It just matters what he does. I mean, I expect him to. You hope that he has the confidence of saying, "All right, look at all his shots." Kind of like we're saying, like he missed. Like there were probably about 4 to 5 that he should just keep the ball moving, pass it out, kick out, whatever. But you need him to shoot. The one thing
they need him. They need him to hit those. They do. They're desperate for those shots.
Yeah, even they need him to keep shooting and have the confidence because I mean, if you're running the D'Lo AD pick and roll and everybody's staying home and Jokic is taking away AD's role, the floater's right there. Like that's a shot that D'Lo's really good at, and sometimes like especially this early in the series, you don't want to. I think Darvin had mentioned this yesterday when asked about D'Lo. Like you don't want to take him out this early in the series and you don't know how he's going to respond to that.
Sure.
Just from a mental standpoint, like he's going to this is not about his character, but some guys may check out in the situation. Some guys may not be able to respond if you showed that little confidence in a player, especially that early in the series. So they need him to just hit those shots and be confident in himself to hit those shots. To me, that's what it comes down to.
Khobi, if hypothetically, if he struggles again tomorrow, and I'm with you that I thought Anthony Davis said something interesting yesterday. I mean, listen, he's giving him a vote of confidence, but he also said that we're in the playoffs. You only have a 7-game set before you know it. The series could be over. If he struggles again tomorrow, anything you think that changes as you get to game 3? And I'm not even talking about from a starter perspective. I'm just saying that you're already in, you're already playing arguably the best team in the world or best team in the NBA. You don't have much margin for error. Do you anything change if he struggles again tomorrow?
Yeah, I think naturally if he struggles again tomorrow, you have to give significant consideration to I'm not saying benching, but adjusting rotations and minutes, just because if he's not providing that scoring punch, that shooting punch, or that that playmaking at a high level offensively, and then obviously like we know that D'Lo's not he's not known for his defense. I think there were some plays he made yesterday that were good, but there are also moments where he cost the team a few points. So if he's not going to be able to provide the offensive punch that we've seen him provide throughout the season, then yeah, you definitely have to consider. At least to me, I think they should consider. Like I said, I'm not saying remove the starting role, remove the starting lineup, because I think if he struggles tomorrow, you have to give it a look in game 3 just to see how he responds to that. But if he's not looking good early in game 3, then yeah, I would not be surprised if we see a little bit more Gabe and a little bit more Spencer, just to have a better two-way balance where you feel like, if we're not going to do this offensively in terms of, having guys
try to get some stoppers out there. Yeah,
get some stoppers and just have a little bit more versatility defensively. Just try something different, honestly, because at that point, going down 3-0 is he can struggle. I think he can struggle tomorrow and they can still win. But if he struggles tomorrow, then that reduces the likelihood of them winning. So if you're going back to LA down 2-0, you have to treat that as a must win, just because 3-0 might as well just start playing your vacation time at that point. It's Denver.
It's kind of funny, and this is not probably fair. I think 2-0 is not that far away from saying the same thing that you just said. I just to win 4 out of 5 against the Denver Nuggets. I think they got to get the split tomorrow, but we'll see what happens. Just one quick question on the other role players. Rui only took 4 shots. Austin Reeves, not super aggressive. I thought his shot selection was not the best. Settled for some tough 25, 27 footers. If right now you're looking at the Lakers, if Anthony Davis and LeBron are going to do their thing, Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic are going to do their thing. The problem is what's kind of scary is Jamal Murray didn't really even have that great of a game as far as offensively. He wasn't efficient. But if those four cancel each other out, then it's Michael Porter, Aaron Gordon, and KCP. Let's just use those three against D'Angelo Russell, Rui Hachimura, and Austin Reeves. What did you make of Rui and Reeves, and how do you feel like they got to play in game 2?
Something I didn't ask, and I wonder. Now I'm just wondering, like thinking about lately as we're talking. I wonder how much. There were moments where I thought Rui could have been more aggressive for a shot. I think there were a couple looks he passed up, not many, not a whole lot, but I mean he had 4 shots. Maybe he could have gotten up to 7, 8. Just rewatching certain parts of the game, which maybe people feel like that's not enough, but it's also one of those. I mean, I guess you take those shots from D'Lo. The other thing is, I mean, it's not like the Lakers played their bench. I'll come back to Rui on this a whole lot, but just looking at it. Like Torian was the only player off the bench to shoot.
Yep.
Which is also like if Spencer played 13 minutes, didn't shoot. Jackson didn't get a shot up. And obviously like Torian played the most out of the bench players, and they leaned on the start lineup a lot. But to only get 11 points off your bench, and only one, and to be from one player, and he took all the shots like that, feels like also something where there needs to be a diversification of things. But back to Rui, I wonder how much, just having that Jokic assignment for such significant stretches of the game just kind of maybe took his legs out, or just affected not took his legs out, but just affected his rhythm offensively.
Sure.
And then Austin, I mean,
why? Jokic is a bum. That guy didn't do anything.
Yeah, Jokic. Yeah, guarding Jokic. I mean, it's like guarding me, right? Yeah. So yeah, I do like just thinking about it now. I wonder if that. I mean, you kind of want to do you try to do the same thing to other other players on the other end, but I wonder if that affected. But there was also opportunities Rui had that he either passed up, or there were a couple good looks that he missed that maybe you wish you got back. Austin, I didn't think there weren't, when we watching certain parts of the game, like there were some looks that I'm specifically thinking about, like the start of the third quarter. Lakers ran this play, and Austin ends up wide open, and he just missed it. And he also took on the Jamal assignment for, from opening tip, start of the third, and periodically throughout the game.
Yep.
I wonder if, I think we've seen this a little bit from Austin, since he's taken on more of these primary, being the primary defender against like the best ball handler on the opposite team. Like the shot attempts may not be coming as much for him just because, he's giving more defensively. And, not to say like if you look at his in numbers, 13 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, no turnovers, and 37 minutes, that feels good. On 5 of 9 shooting, that feels good. But from if D'Lo doesn't have it going, and you're not getting at least offensively any points from Gabe or Spencer, you need Austin to be neck and neck, I guess, with like a KCP and an MPJ. Because the thing about the Nuggets is MPJ and KCP, like they're going to be there regardless. Aaron Gordon is going to create opportunities just with his offensive rebounding, and baseline cuts, and just his baseline movement being in the dunker spot. So the Lakers are going to need more from the supporting cast, absolutely, just because this isn't going to cut it. I mean, it's great that LeBron and AD did what they did.
No, they don't got shot unless basically all these guys are contributing. That's the only way. And it's not that uncommon. I go back to that game, and I know the competition's a lot different, but when Lakers beat the Pelicans last Sunday, a week ago, everybody was involved. And that's when they're at their best. And that's against the Pelicans. Well, what if you're playing Denver, who, I think we all agree is the class of the NBA? You're going to need that. And you know what? Maybe that's not going to happen 4 times, and that's just the reality. But if you want to make it a series, it has to happen twice in the next couple of games, right? Like you're going to need that if you're going to make it a series. And but it's good observation on Rui. I think also on Austin Reeves, the running around with Jamal Murray. That's why I think at times, and whatever that balance looks, and this will actually get me into Darvin Ham. I want to get your thoughts on him. But that's why that you're going to have to figure out times where you're saying, look, Dinwiddie, you run all over the place with Jamal Murray. Gabe, you run all over the place with Jamal Murray. Because I think the problem when you're asking Austin Reeves to do that is they still need his offense, and they're going to still need him to be effective on that end. And if you're, like you just mentioned, if you're asking Rui, go guard Jokic, well, it's probably not going to be the same Rui that was guarding you pick and choose from the Pelicans. Larry Nance, like it's a complete difference of what those players are like. So that's on Darvin Ham. Speaking of which, okay, before I get your thoughts on Darvin from just last night, kind of what you thought. He did speak to you guys, to some of the beat reporters. And that was today. Anything come out of that was interesting?
Yeah, I mean, one of the first things that I was asked about from the top was just what he thought, just like reviewing the film afterwards. And then, Darvin said he didn't feel like they did a bad job in the half court. Like, there were some shots that like Jokic made that, Murray didn't have the best night, but there were some key shots that he just made. They just like throw your hands up. It's like, well, like we did our best.
The one in AD against AD in the corner where it was down to 7 and then it went up to 10 again. You're right. That's such a good point. Jamal Murray didn't shoot well yesterday, but the shots he hits, they're backbreakers. The ones to kind of get that run going when Lakers were down 12. The ones that they're just momentum shifters. So that's a good point.
Yeah, to your point, I took note of that shot when it happened during the game, and I think I even wrote something like a dude, like this dude has had nothing all game, and then
it's the big one.
He's the big one. And to your point earlier, I thought Austin, I thought they did a really good job in terms of guarding Murray on pick and roll, like coming as a ball handler off of pick and rolls, mixing up coverages. Like some points they trap, some points they blitz, some points they play drop. Like there was a decent amount going on. But back to what Darvin was saying. But yeah, he kind of emphasized the whole transition defense and second chance points and just the intangibles part. Like, yes, they can there are some things they can execute better. They can switch up and provide different adjustments. But it just, again, to AD's point yesterday, and Darvin he didn't say it directly, but emphasizing it, like you can't lose the second chance points and the fast break battles as much as they did at the same time, because and then you also lost a shooting battle. Like there's certain things that you had to be tighter on because the margin for error, to your point earlier, is just thinner because of how good they are. So if you want to have a shot to beat this team, you have to do better in those quote unquote intangible battles. And that's one of the main things that we talked about last night, but that's really emphasized again this morning or early afternoon.
Did you think of any glaring things with how he coached yesterday? I thought when Lakers were most stagnant for me, when they were having issues offensively, there was a time where there was a stretch where LeBron was out, DeAndre Jordan was in trying to guard Anthony Davis. I thought Reeves was taking a couple deep threes, and I'm just sitting there, I'm like, can we run a play? I just didn't feel like there was anything fluid on offense for the Lakers. Times where it felt like they needed execution. I'll point at the other side. Michael Malone, this is what part of the things that makes him great. When they need a bucket or they're coming out of a timeout or it's a set defense waiting for them on the other side, they will execute like crazy until they get the shot that they want. Whether that shot goes in or it doesn't, they get the shot that they want. I thought there were moments yesterday where that was really frustrating. That kind of stuck out to me. Anything stick out to you yesterday from Darvin?
In terms of the coaching side of it,
the coaching decisions at certain times or anything like that.
I mean, I think the biggest thing to me, just offensively, was just the lack of sets as the game progressed. The lack of play calls, the lack of running through their stuff.
I'm with you.
I thought that. I mean, I was tracking it. There were probably 2 or 3 different sets that they ran during the course of the game that gave them good looks. They didn't always hit the shot, but it got them good looks. There's specifically one. I think there was one like an elbow entry to AD. And I'm sorry, this is not the best for audio, but it's okay to give people an idea of what I'm talking about. If you go back to the first quarter,
draw it right now with your finger on the camera.
Yeah. Elbow entry for AD. Guys over here. No, it's elbow entry for AD, and then you have I think at first one time it was D'Lo 2 times, and then Spencer after he subbed in for D'Lo, coming off double stagger screens on the weak side. And on the strong side, you have LeBron in the corner. At one point he back cut think it was Peyton Watson, and he got a
Early
layup
on.
out of it.
Early on,
early
right?
on.
Yep.
This is how they help.
AD hit him early. Yep.
And this is how they help build their lead.
Mm-hmm.
The second possession they ran it, I think LeBron, instead of doing the backdoor cut, it was a handoff. LeBron 3. The third time they ran it, I'm pretty sure it was LeBron came off the handoff or DHO, got
Went
all
to
the
the
way
basket.
missed the layup. I don't think they were, and that was it. And then I think even then they still kept the ball after he missed. Like he missed a good look. Like sometimes it happens. Like
Sure.
I'm playing by D'Lo. Sometimes you miss good looks. You gotta live with it. But then I don't remember they ran other stuff. I don't recall them going to that again. And the problem with that is that put the Nuggets in the decision of, are we going to have Jokic hedge this? Because if he does, there's nobody on that helps. We're going to have to switch up how we help defensively on AD's role. And, the help's also occupied because they have weak side action going on. So there's certain things like that that's like, why don't you go back to that at certain points? So, when your offense is stuck in the mud, when, guys, when the Nuggets go on their runs, it feels like sometimes the Lakers are just trying to get it all back, or just like a pull-up three or a simple pick and roll, and then you miss, and then the Nuggets are off there running. Sometimes the Lakers are good when they're playing with pace, absolutely. But sometimes it's not just about getting the first good shot you see. It's about making the Nuggets work defensively and, trying to punish them for how they're defending you. And then, sometimes you live with the make or miss part of it, but at least give yourself a better chance with a better process. And I thought the process as the game went on, that's what slipped the most with the Lakers offensively. And that's something that I think Darvin Ham and his coaching staff will have to address. I'm sure they have, but we'll have to quite simply just fix going into game 2. Because yes, you can say the Lakers missed some good shots. You can say the Lakers, there were certain things that they could have just done better in terms of execution. The same can be said for the Nuggets. The same exact thing can be said for the Nuggets. And it's kind of to the point I'm making. They think the Lakers finished with 22 assists for the game. 12 of those came in I think 12 of those came after the first quarter. So they had 10 assists in the first quarter and then 12 in the last 30.
Wow.
That's just not. And I think everybody, especially like Rui and especially D'Lo, they're going to, and even all the bench players, they're going to get hurt by that. So I think that's also why you don't see the role players having the production they could have, because they need to feed off of everything else. But if you're not setting up, if you're not running the certain actions, if you're not, going through certain sets, it's hard to feed others. I don't want to call them out, but the others, quote unquote, because there's not much food to eat off of, if that makes sense.
Khobi, we saw this a little bit earlier, and only got a couple more for you here, and I appreciate you hanging out for the podcast today. So can you give any more details to this, that Christian Wood maybe back? I know there was a tweet that was sent out, but was that addressed at all with the conversation with Darvin, and just your thoughts on that?
Yeah, Darvin addressed it. He didn't give much in terms of whether Christian Wood will return for Game 3, like was reported by The Athletic. But he did speak about how Christian could help with the size, length, the rebounding, stretching, for the things we know about Christian, the things we saw from him in spurts before he had the knee surgery. But Darvin did say Christian does have a couple of more boxes to check before they do considering him returning to the floor. So not much in terms of a definitive, yes, he's coming back Game 3. No, he's not coming back Game 3. But there are some things, boxes to check. What those boxes are, not entirely sure. But for what it's worth, that's what Darvin provided earlier this afternoon.
Yeah, this comes, Shams that put this out. Shams Sharon of The Athletic. Christian Wood plan to return to action in Game 3 versus the Nuggets on Thursday. A key boost to the Lakers front court. Wood out since February 14th due to knee injury. Has averaged 7 points, 5 rebounds this season. So they can get all the help that they can get. Just another body, just a different look. Now, I don't know how effective he can be coming into Game 3 against the Denver Nuggets in the playoffs. Has not played since mid-February, but we'll take our chances and kind of see what happens there. Cole, final one from me, as just we kind of take a look here. Game 2 is tomorrow. It's 7 p.m. tip-off out here on the West Coast, obviously still in Denver. What are some of the keys for you? What's most important to you? Just what has to happen if the Lakers are going to tie up this series?
The biggest, I'll try to give you three, and I'll just try to make this simple and quick because I know I've said a lot. Uh, First
All
one,
you've said is good stuff and content. When they hear me, they're like, just Al talking again.
appreciate you. The first one is clean up the transition and clean up offensive rebounding. If not both, one, you're not going to have a chance to win this game if you don't clean up at least one of them. Whether that's change up your weak side defensive rotation, so it's not Aaron Gordon or Jokic, getting offensive rebounds over your smaller players because of just the way you double Jokic and then you kind of have to swing, or maybe instead of having Rui defend Jokic as much as he did, because that also happened where Jokic is getting offensive rebounds over Rui just because he's just simply bigger. Maybe you have AD play guard Jokic more and live with that. But one of the two, I would especially like to see the offensive, like the transition. But I think I would emphasize the offensive rebounding, just because it felt like it wasn't the case, but it felt like every offensive rebound, the Nuggets just turned into something good for them. So I think that's the main thing I would emphasize between those two. Got it. So number two would be stay more organized with your offense, run through more sets, go through more plays, especially in those when the game's teetering, when the Nuggets are going on that 6-0, 8-0, 7-2 run.
The chaotic moments.
Yes. Be organized. Don't just start settling for shots. Don't just try to get into the first action, and don't just get into the first action and try to get a shot for that. Like, run through your stuff and be in that, I guess, in the more organized mode offensively, like they were in the first quarter and certain segments of the second quarter. And the third one, I think the third one, I kind of touched on the third one, but more AD on Jokic. More AD on Jokic. I'm not saying that's how you start the game, but I do feel like they should put AD on Jokic more defensively, not just because AD was just more effective than Rui defensively, but also because I thought they had a good game plan in terms of doubling Jokic the way that they did. But the Nuggets Jokic and the Nuggets kind of adjusted well to it.
Sure.
As the game went on, and I thought the adjustment of more AD on Jokic came a little bit too late. I think it would help to mix up those pitches earlier in the game, and then maybe you have Rui on AD, and then you switch, and that's hard to do. It's hard to game plan for, but I think that's what's almost necessary because I think that would help the defensive rebounding part of it, and it would cause for, I guess, it's hard to make Jokic uncomfortable, but it would just not allow him to see the same thing over and over again. And just like this computer brain he has of basketball, he's got to figure it out before the halftime, before it's even halftime. So those would be my main three things: better offensive rebounding, better defensive rebounding and transition defense, especially defensive rebounding, more organized offensive play and running through more sets, and then just a little bit more AD on Jokic. Not full time, not saying change the primary responsibilities for the entire game, but there's a little bit more of it to mitigate the defensive rebounding part of it, and not have to be in rotation with your doubles as much.
Yeah, since Khobi, yesterday I was doing the pregame show on radio, right? So I'm doing it with Michael Thompson, and Michael and I were talking about, and again, it doesn't have to be the entire game, but I think there's something in what you're saying. Anthony Davis on Nikola Jokic and leave him alone. There's a little bit also, now you can't get into foul trouble. You got to be smart, all that stuff. I get all that. But what you don't want is Jokic is probably going to get 30 no matter what. In 48 minutes, he's probably going to get close to 30 points a game. What I think scares me more than anything else with Jokic, when he has 12 dimes, 13 dimes, when he's getting everybody else involved, when it's KCP now's in rhythm and Michael Porter's in rhythm and Jamal Murray's in rhythm, that's where I think Jokic is at his best. Is we know he can score. He knows he can score. But when there's the perfect balance of scoring, yet also being a facilitator, Michael and I were talking about how that's just kind of that's the worst position you could be in. And less help. It's not like Anthony Davis is some kind of bum. Let see what he can do. I know there's times I'm thinking of one possession yesterday where Jokic's going one-on-one on the AD. And Jokic's shot, his shot over Anthony Davis had to hit basically the top of the backboard, and it just rolled in. Well, okay, there's nothing you can do about that.
Was it the one that like it went all the way up, it hit front rim and then rolled back? I think.
Yes.
Yeah. I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I mean, to
but
your
it's
point,
a tough shot.
Yeah, no, it's a tough shot. I mean, I think there were certain points throughout the season where Jokic just, like, quite frankly, he won that matchup offensively in terms of just Jokic, like he's putting up those floaters, those hook shots over AD, and like the numbers say that he's beating AD really relatively well in the post. But I do think there's an element of, again, I'm not saying that doing it full time, especially not just because AD was better on Jokic last night than we saw at certain points during the regular season. I think I'm advocating more so for, at least for the Lakers, is switch it up just a little bit earlier and a little bit more, just so Jokic doesn't establish a comfort with the same thing over and over again. Because like any great player, if you show something the same or similar thing over and over again, they're going to figure it out. Their team's going to figure it out. They're going to adjust, and they're going to come out with adjustments to your adjustments. So yes, there are elements of kind of like what I said about Rui, like putting AD on Jokic more would just make him work more defensively. You do worry about the foul trouble. There are elements of why you don't want to do that full time, just a little bit more. And I think you have a shot. And sometimes, kind of like with Jamal Murray hitting those circus shots or the fall away three in the corner with AD on them, there are certain shots with Jokic you're going to have to live with. But you can't allow the Nuggets to get comfortable. Mm-hmm. You just can't. Or get into a rhythm, and once that happens, it's hard to get them out of it.
Cool, great stuff, buddy.
I appreciate it.
Khobi Price covers the Lakers for the OC Register. Again, I'll emphasize it again. So Khobi's in Denver, covered the team obviously all year. He's the Lakers beat writer for the OC Register. On Twitter, Khobi_Price. That's KHOBI_PRICE. Khobi, a fantastic breakdown. I appreciate you giving your opinion here after game one as we get ready for game two. So thank you for the time, brother. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And to everybody hanging out here listening as well, we appreciate you hanging out as well. Hopefully everybody enjoys the rest of their weekend. Thank you, Khobi. I appreciate it, buddy.
Appreciate you.
All right, man. We'll catch you guys tomorrow after Lakers game two. We'll get another video up here. Thanks, Laker fans.